Hey guys, I'm Trey. Some of you may know me, some of you may not. I plan to just kind of put some videos together for the purposes of documenting some of my own projects. I've never done anything like this, so it's going to be pretty terrible. But the reason I want to do these things is I have a number of project cards here. I've always kind of thought about it might be a cool idea to document some of them. More so than just a few pictures I've kept on Facebook or something like that over the years, because I've been doing this for a long time. Some background on me: I worked in automotive professionally for about 9 years. I've worked, I worked at that time on everything up to about 1-ton pickups. I was light duty stuff. I did engine swaps, transmission swaps, general mechanic repair. I worked on pretty much everything, and I learned a lot while I was doing it, and I worked on my project vehicles, which we've got a few here, and we'll get into those in a minute. But I kind of wanted to put together some videos and start documenting what I do and what I've done, for no other reason for myself. It'd be kind of fun, right? Maybe fun to put some videos together. Two, friends and family and stuff that maybe we don't get together as much. When I was in college, we did weekly car meets. That's gone, long gone, and we can get into some other reasons why that's kind of gone, in my opinion. But in any case, that stuff's kind of gone at this point, and well, I'd actually be interested in seeing some of my old college buddies and stuff, what they've been doing over the last few years, because we've all kind of gone radio silence because we're not doing this, right? It's just whatever we take pictures of or something like that and post on Facebook. But so what I want to do is document whatever work I'm doing, things like that, for posterity's sake a little bit, and so people can see it. Maybe you get a little bit of entertainment out of it. I know plenty of my friends over the years have had a good time laughing at me, both as I learn and do things wrong, hurt myself while I'm working, or just some of the solutions I come up with. I'm far from a genius. I'm more of a get it running, get it working type. So, which might be very apparent with the quality of these videos, especially early on, so I apologize. There's also some stuff that I can probably pass on education-wise. Little things here or there. Some of it will be ranting related, but there's stuff that I know how to do, and I'm good at it, and maybe some people will learn from it. Maybe even people I know, maybe some new people, right, that never met me before, and see a little piece here or there they might be able to use on their project. They might find it helpful. But again, and I think part of the reason that the car culture thing, and like I said, part of the reason I want to do this is share car stuff with other people. I see it as kind of a fun and interesting way to do that without having to deal with the car meet thing. I love car meets. I used to enjoy them. Like, so we were in college, we used to have weekly meets. It was a lot of fun. Met a lot of good people, had a good time. And some guys who've been around this a long time might have the same opinion as me, that this kind of takeover culture thing, the burnouts and criminal activity and stuff that's kind of inundated the car community, has kind of ruined it. I remember 6-7 years ago, there was a car meet in the Austin area, which is where I am. Probably every night you could go to one. There was no big deal, and you could cruise in, hang out with people, meet new people. It was great. These days, that's pretty much all been shut down. Violence and all kinds of stuff has gotten into them. So, but I digress, and we'll get off of this, and we'll go around. What I want to do is introduce you to the project vehicles that are here, and the shop, or garage rather. For me, it's my shop, but it's a 2-car garage. It's the best I can do for now. Introduce you to what we got, what kind of equipment, what kind of vehicles, what kind of projects are planned for all of them, and we'll go from there. I probably won't post this video until I've got a couple made to go after it, and we'll see. Like I said, I don't know if these things are going to be particularly good, but I think I'll enjoy doing them, and I'm going to try to stop and causing, being terrible. In any case, let me pick you up and we'll go around and look at stuff. Alright, we'll start with this one. This is probably the car that most people, if anyone knows me from before, will be familiar with this car. I've had this since about 2012, and it's been through a lot. It's been through a lot of changes, a lot of different layouts. We'll get into that. So it's a 1985 Pontiac Fiero GT. GT, well, get into history stuff if people care. I mean, there's plenty of videos on that stuff. But for me personally, it's just been a long-going project car. And it started out as a red, it was always a V6, but as a red automatic transmission car. It's always had a sunroof. I never changed that. It was always a gray interior, which we'll get into. But the drivetrain is mostly what's changed over time. The drivetrain and color. But over the years, I've replaced the carpet, covered the seats. Basically, those are just nice covers, but seats have been covered, speakers have been replaced. The dashboard and a lot of stuff's been kind of repainted in here. Gauges have been switched out. Those are the gauges out of a later GT car. As a 5-speed swap, it was originally a 3-speed automatic car, like I said, so it's had a few transmissions. We can go through this thing's story later. It's definitely destroyed its fair share of parts over the years. But, so, it's come together pretty nice. There's a lot of stuff to do on this thing still, and we'll see where we go on it. So, let's go back here for now. This is kind of where most of the work shines and where most of the work has been done. So, this is basically a stock rod only setup, except for the way that it's bolted in here. So, for those that aren't familiar with these cars, it's a little bit alien, so I'll go through it. Again, it was an automatic, so it's been swapped. It's had a couple different 4-speeds in it, and now has a 5-speed. That is a 5-speed that's designed, or was designed by Getrag. Was available in cars, 86 and later cars, I believe, 86 or 87 and later, and was built by Muncie for General Motors. So that's been swapped in here. Has about a 355 final drive ratio. The engine, so this is a standard 2.8 liter block. This one's out of a later 1986 car. It has been bored 30 over. It has a Engine Tech street cam in it. It has comp 1.6 roller rockers, ported and polished cylinder heads, Edelbrock Torquer 2 intake manifold, Phytech standalone 400 throttle body fuel injection, West Coast Fiero shorty headers wrapped. It's basically as built as you can possibly put together the factory engine. And that's that. I would generally not actually advise anybody to build this because most other swap options make much more sense financially. People doing 3800s and even LSs, but this was done over the years, being able to secure parts for cheap, and so it was kind of something that I was able to do, but it took years and years and years and different iterations. This is the 5th engine I've had in this car, and I think the third or 4th transmission. So it's been a ride, and I learned a lot building and breaking stuff. Kind of came back to, again, why doing videos like this would be fun. Because I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot as I've broken things. So, in any case, shot down the side of it here. This brings us to the other one. Move this out of the way for now. Like I said, we're trying to get rid of that. But this is a 1988 Pontiac Fiero. This is my wife's car. It is currently torn apart for a brake-related issue. So, what's going on here is that the rear brake calipers on these vehicles, only for the last year, are specialized. Again, if you bother to look into the history stuff, I'm not going to go into it too far, but basically the final year they did a ton of changing to the suspension and the underpinnings of the car. Well, when they did that, they came up with a set of brake calipers that are essentially one-offs. From research I've done, basically the 1988 P chassis was the only vehicle ever produced in the world that used them. So they're extremely difficult to find. Currently they're off. We actually have a set coming, and we'll get into that with what we're going to do with the various project vehicles. But so it needs a brake overhaul. It's a lot of work and it's a pain, but we'll get to it. But that's what's got it parked, and it's actually been parked for quite some time. I think almost 2 years now. But we'll go back here real quick. This one is not currently a V6 car. We'll get to that in a minute. This one is a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder Iron Duke. I rebuilt this engine probably, truthfully, only maybe 1,000 miles ago. And it's fairly happy. It runs pretty well. But we have plans. But it's a 2.5 liter Iron Duke 4-cylinder. It does have a 5-speed transmission in it. The one that's in here is the less desirable of the 2 5-speeds available. It's a Isuzu built 5-speed. Probably not really an issue. Certainly not in this layout. It's plenty strong enough. So it's just fine. Yeah, project plans. In any case, let me get in the side here so we can take a look at the interior on it. This one's also pretty nice. Torn apart a little bit, but pretty nice. Because again, I'll get into the project plans for this car. So this one, and anybody who's a Fiero person will wonder why there's speaker seats in here. It's because they were the seats that we had laying around that were in the best shape. So 88s would not have had speaker seats. Only earlier cars like my 85 did. So, but this one, again, 5-speed manual transmission, has some Rodney Dickman parts in it. It's had the gauges and stuff. So one of the interesting things with this one that has been swapped out is the gauges in this one have all been switched over to GT gauges. The original owner did some messing with the circuitry, and voila, the tachometer and all the GT gauges work in it. Don't know what we're going to do in future with those, because if we do an engine swap, which is, I think you're getting the feel is what we're going with this. I don't know, we're probably going to put standard gauges back in it, but it's kind of neat that somebody went to all that effort. This one was repainted shortly before being parked for the brake issue. It was hit in the back by another vehicle, and insurance paid for a nice paint job on it. Then it's pretty much sat ever since. It was driven for a little while and then developed a brake problem, and it sat. So we're going to fix the brakes. We're going to get to doing potentially an engine swap on it and put it back on the road. Alright, so we'll start on the last one here. That's actually kind of a project vehicle. This is my 1988 Dodge Ram D150. This car came out of a field in nearby Cedar Creek, Texas, and was agreed to be purchased sight unseen. And it did not look like this. I'll see if I can maybe scrap some videos or pictures in here of what this thing used to look like. But it's come a long way. I've had this one since about 2017. And it is just a pretty plain old single cab Dodge. It is a 318 904 automatic, 8 1/4 out back with a 355 ratio. And we can get into kind of what's been done to it. And kind of getting back into what got me to want to do potentially some videos like this is project stuff. So like one of the things that's recently been done is this truck now has power locks, which is something that it had power locks but it never had a remote. So that's kind of neat. So we'll start at the back here, or in the cab. We'll move under the hood and let's see where we're at. So the interior is a little rough. We're still working on it. It's coming along. Needs to have the seat upholstered. Need to do the door panels, and the carpet's been replaced. It really just kind of needs to be vacuumed a little more. This console is a ongoing project. We're having some adherence issues with both this vinyl, which that's not an issue. Just get it hydro dipped, but the material that's being used for the top of it is kind of bowing up and being a problem. So, but that's fine. It's a project. I work on it. But this is pretty much my daily driver on my days off. So It has 168,000 miles, more than likely. A little upgraded radio in it, but this is just a decent little pickup truck. I'll move under the hood. So under here is just a bone stock roller block 318, or well, roller valve train. I think it's 88 or something like that. Dodge actually went to that, got rid of the flat tappet camshafts. So we got little Edelbrock valve covers on it just because it gave us a nice flat new set of valve covers to put new seals on to cut down on leaks. This engine came out of another truck, Ram Charger in a junkyard. Pulled it out, went through it, checked out the bearings, things like that, and it turned out to be okay. So it got just a re-gasket job and slammed back in. It's been happy. So, like I said, this is just a everyday, daily driver kind of truck, and it gets daily driver kind of projects, things like that constantly. We've got some wiring stuff we're gonna do and things like that. So like I said, I just want to kind of show you that, and when I get back to the garage, we'll talk about what projects we're going to be doing and what kind of stuff that is planned for all these. Okay, well, now you've been kind of introduced to the fleet and vehicles we have to work with. So I'll give you a quick rundown on kind of stuff I've got planned over the next, well, whenever, stuff, the current planned projects for all the vehicles, and even a couple pipe dreams, and we'll see where things go. So first we'll start with the white Fiero, that 88. It needs the brakes, and like I alluded to, they're kind of a problem, but I kind of alluded to the fact we're getting them. So I've got the old ones sent off. You have to send off your cores, they have to receive them, and then they will send you the new ones because they're so rare. So we should be getting brakes for that soon, and then we can kind of bring it out of hibernation. I don't think it'll be too big a deal to bring that car out because of the fact that it's not carbureted or anything like that. The battery is dead, so I'm sure it'll wake up. Take a little bit to wake it up, but I don't think it'd be a big problem. It's probably fairly apparent that it might be in the stages of an engine swap. Despite the fact the engine was rebuilt not that long ago, the Iron Duke has some issues. It's a fairly reliable engine in and of itself, but it's pretty down on power. They're not very strong. Oddly enough, there's actually a little bit of a quirk with the air conditioning system. So the air conditioning system fitted to the 4-cylinder cars is particularly weak. It will work actually surprisingly well sitting still. But once you try and drive it, it has trouble. It basically pretty much immediately starts turning it off as soon as it gets up to speed and it needs any power at all. Plus, there's some oddball eccentricities with the 88 model year, again, in particular with regard to the air conditioning. And I'd rather avoid those. So 6-cylinder swap gives you the ability to run a nicer, more traditional compressor that goes on off. Works better all the time. You've got more torque to run that thing, and you've got a little more power for driving around. So that's what that engine that was sitting over by the workbench is. We're working on building that. It's basically a halfway decent core. We've cleaned it up and painted it. It's pretty much dummied together. It's been honed at home. But I think it's honed well enough, and it looks like it's not perfect, but I think it'll be an okay engine. And you'll see that. We'll put that motor together, and we'll probably put it in the car. But first things first, we'll get brakes on it and get it driving. And we'll document each of those in videos and keep you updated on it. Next one's going to be, seats on it. The seats that are torn up in it, it's pretty much the last thing that thing's interior needs. It needs seat upholstery. And there's a couple good options for that, and we'll get into that. The 85 Fiero, the black one, mine. There's really not a lot that needs to be done on that car. It's mostly finished. It's the one I've had the longest, and it's the one that needs kind of the least work. It's really pretty much been gone through. But there's always something to do. And I've started to kind of like the lower touring look. I don't know for sure that I'm going to do it, and I don't know exactly sure when, but it does need struts. The struts I put on it probably 6-7 years ago have gotten soft. It wouldn't be a bad idea to upgrade those. Well, if we're going to pull the struts off, do we want to put lowering springs in it? If we want to put lowering springs in it, do we maybe want to put some nicer 17-inch gold wheels on it? I've got a few thoughts in mind, and we might get to that. I think it'd be kind of neat. So we'll see if we get to it on that. Again, it also needs seats too. What's in it right now is basically a nice set of covers. It'd be nice to do those. Also have some thoughts that slow me down on that because I kind of go back and forth. I might want to change the interior over from that gray and black, to kind of a tan. There was a tan interior available in those cars. It's a little less common, it's a little harder to get parts for, but I think with the black car with gold wheels, the tan interior really kind of pops a lot more than the gray does. It's a lot of work. You gotta get a lot of stuff together. Gotta undo a lot of work I've already done. But, you know, if I'm doing project videos and I kind of like it, it might be worth doing, and it gives me something to film, right? The Ram, pickup truck. The Ram is kind of a catalog vehicle, if I could put it that way. It's not like the Fieros where pretty much everything is truly kind of hot rodding, where you've got to find solutions and track down weird stuff. While the Ram's not supported as well as like a Chevy or a Ford, there's definitely availability for V8 engines and transmissions and build kits and all that stuff. So in the long run, I'd love to put together like a hot 360 for it, or even a 408, you know, around about 400 horse in that thing with a later 4-speed automatic transmission would be nice. Because currently the 3-speed that's in it doesn't even have overdrive. The last gear is 1-to-1. So that really kind of limits you. It'll do 75, 80 miles an hour on the highway, but it is making noise and it's not happy. So 70 is about where it's happy, and it'd be nice to have a little more leg on it. So we'll see. But what is more immediate and will actually be happening that we have plans for is to put a backup camera in it, but cleanly. One of the ones that's built into the rearview mirror, because the rearview mirror fell off of it, so why not upgrade it? So that's kind of a plan. Bring you along for the wiring and installation for that. Part of the reason to install that is not because I can't back a truck up, but because I'd like to have it centered over the trailer hitch, because I want to wire it for a trailer. Even though it was a farm truck before, it never, well, I'm sure it was wired at some time, but all that stuff's been ripped off. So I've got a kit for that. There's a billion videos on wiring trucks for a trailer, but you know, I'll do one, and if you find me more entertaining, then great. Or if you're just one of my friends from the past that you just want to watch me wire that as I learn it, then, you know, welcome. You get to see that. Because I'm not known for being particularly adept at wiring, so you'll get to see more of a greasy mechanics mentality on wiring. Paint stuff. I really kind of want to go through that truck, and I think this will be happening, but I don't know exactly when. What I want to do is try and wake up the paint that's on the truck. I repainted it, or I had it repainted, and it's about 3 years old. It's single stage paint. It's gotten a little chalky. I would like to take a decent buffer to it, like an orbital, you know, multi-directional, the nice thing. See if I can clean the paint up, wake it up a little bit, get it a little less chalky on top, and then pretty much immediately come back at it with some form of clear coat. There's a couple options. There's one, the Vice Grip Garage sells, it's apparently able to be either wiped on or sprayed. We will probably foray into spraying it. I don't have a gun yet. I do have a big enough compressor with a regulator. I could probably spray it in stages. Do the front half and turn it around, back in the garage, do the back half. But I'd like to do that because I think that paint's probably got, if we do something like that, it's probably got another 4 or 5 years in it, as opposed to just completely failing and then, you know, we're turning around having to paint it again. I'd also like to put an electric fan in it. One of the things in that vehicle, and like I said, I use it as a daily driver, it has working heat and air conditioning. But one of the downsides of a vehicle with a manual fan that's mounted to the front of the engine, even if it's clutch driven, is that if it's idling at 800 RPM, it only gets so cold. It's not going to be able to be as cold as something that can sit there and spin a fan at 7,000 RPM on high speed in a parking lot in a 105 degree day. So it'd be fun to upgrade to an electric fan. And maybe, but radiator's probably fine though. It's got a big towing radiator in it, but a bit nice electric fan would be good with a thermostat sensor. So that and among other things. So this is kind of the direction I'm planning on going with all of these. And I'll make videos on these as long as I continue to feel like it's worth doing it. And like I said, if you're some random person coming across my videos, hopefully you find them entertaining. If you're somebody who, like, I went to school with or something and just wants to keep up on my projects, then welcome. You'll get to keep up on that because, like I said earlier, we're not able to do the car meet thing quite as much as we were, both due to the car culture and just plain everyone's got busy lives. So this gives me an ability to do this kind of when I have time, and I can share it with y'all. So in any case, so that's pretty much it for now. Catch you guys later.